thing that I'm here to talk about, and it's the bottom line. So I'm going to talk to you about your heart, the one that's close to your back pocket. We need to cover up our expenses here this weekend. So you need to see Kathleen or Jan before you go. We need to raise...
No.
Oh! Those two. They're going to collect your money.
We're going on a holiday. So
oh yeah, they need money. They need more money. They're going away. It's Laura and Kathy. I had it wrong. I had Kathy and Kathleen mixed up there. But we need to raise somewhere in the neighborhood of like $550. So don't pay more than you can't afford, but give what you can. Okay? Feel comfortable. We need to have that much money and do that. And even if you want to do it after you eat, that's okay, but do it before you leave. Okay?
So we were thinking about $25.
$25, something like that.
Per kind of
unit.
Per adult. Let's call it a unit.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll do it. Not a problem.
Not husband and wife, but you know.
Yeah. Significant other?
There you go.
It's a good term. Yeah. All right?
That's great.
Now we can eat.
Okay.
And although you may think this weekend is just a lot of sitting around, quite a lot happens. Happy unbirthday. Family members will have noticed Bev excitedly showing off her new digital camera, a birthday gift from Martin. She complained that the screen on the old one was too small to allow her to preview her pictures, Martin said. So she deliberately dropped it again and again and again and again till it broke. Relatives who thought Bev's birthday was in October and not August are not mistaken, Martin went on. I think Bev hopes I'll have forgotten this gift by the time her actual birthday rolls around, and she's probably right. Martin continued to reminisce. The best birthday present I ever got her was something called the epilator, which was a lady's shaver. It had a rotary blade which would catch the leg hair and twist it around until it was yanked out by the root. Every time she used it, she would weep tears of joy. Bev said it really was quite a good gift. Eventually, the hairs got so stressed at being forcibly plucked from the follicles that they just stopped growing altogether. I won't be back. I never did have the guts to try it on my underarms or bikini line, though.
Thank God she looked at the calendar this year. The family is endlessly adaptable, as witnessed by the wonderful time spent at Donington in 2006, but it must be confessed that there was a wee bit of anxiety surrounding the booking of the Goldstream campsite this year. If you recall, last year a misunderstanding between Caroline and the parks office meant that another family had our weekend. Fortunately, Martin and Bev, last year's early birds, were able to alert everyone and get the rescheduling plans underway. But, Alice recalled, many of the family may not have heard about the tremendous shock Bev almost suffered. On arriving at Goldstream and seeing a bunch of strangers, she took it upon herself to find out which family group they were attached to. Upon hearing that the strangers were there for a wedding, Bev immediately leapt to the conclusion that either myself or Shauna, the only two singles at the time, had planned a surprise wedding. With her heart beating wildly, Bev told me she wondered if her jogging suit would be suitable attire, especially if she was going to be the mother of the bride, Alice chuckled. As it turned out, though, the strangers really were just strangers. Caroline said she knew we would be okay this year. I checked with the office like 1,000,000 times on the dates at the end. I had my voice disguised because they were really getting tired of me calling. A brief hiccup at the weekend's onset when a park ranger was asked if this was the Hanley campsite, and he said no, was quickly settled when it was determined that Caroline had actually booked under MacDonnell at one of her other meetings. The great outdoors. And I know Caroline would know that we meant that lovingly, which we do. The great outdoors. A group of family members spent a productive half hour at the start of the weekend discussing camping and tenting. Several opinions weighed in favor of the old canvas tents, you know, the ones that were 95 kilograms each, smelled perennially of musk,
and invariably harbored a couple of colonies of earwigs. You really got the sense of being back to nature with those, Phil V said. These new tents, which unfold with a flick of the wrist, just don't have the same cachet, and I'm not sure they offer the same protection in case of a bear attack. Shannon piped in somewhat sarcastically, saying that their tent may not be able to withstand wildlife, but it would provide a safe sanctuary in case of lightning strike or monsoon. Bill bought a can of that weatherproofing fire retardant spray. See that yellow stain on the flap, which looks like someone peed on the tent? That's the result of Phil's heavy-handed application. He thought that spraying from closer than the recommended 12 centimeters would make it more effective. Phil brushed off the criticism. You'll be grateful for my cry of, fair maidens, quick to the tent, if we're ever attacked by a fire-breathing dragon.
And speaking of waterproofing, Saturday afternoon, Mike Province installed his famous water slide, a 100 by 20 foot length of poly, a lawn sprinkler, and a cup of dishwashing liquid on the grassy slope at the campsite. It kept a dozen kids happy and excited for hours. Although Debbie P. was concerned that the run was a bit too short, she decided to wait to see how many skin knees, grass burns, and bum rashes there were before committing to adding another tarp to the bottom. Pleased as the youngsters were with this attraction, the big excitement occurred at about 9 p.m. that night when the sprinkler system went on amid whoops of joy campers. Amid whoops of joy, campers played grab the stuff off the tables, jump out and carry the tent around the perimeter of the field, cover the sprinkler head with the salad bowl, and slide across the slippery field in the dark. A repeat performance this evening is eagerly anticipated.
Memories. Family members should make a point to check out the gorgeous scrapbooks Chris has created, which commemorate the family reunions dating back to the 1999 Christmas theme. Relatives spent endless hours picking themselves out of a large number of candid photos, charting the growth of the younger generations, and finding spelling mistakes and other errors in Chris's headings and notes. I, personally, was particularly impressed with the fact that all the news stories were reproduced. I wondered where she got them. Chris said she thought they were so witty and clever. She watched the videos of the wind-ups over and over, frame by frame, and transcribed the stories word for word. Did I mention Chris is a wonderful person and my new favorite cousin? What's in a name? A Friday night discussion on the birth of the newest member of the Hanley clan, Avery Slater, led to the story behind her very pretty name. We were sure she was going to be a boy, Shannon recounted. When I was pregnant with McKenna, I was fat all around like a Stay Puft marshmallow. But with Avery, all my bulk was out in front. As a result, we didn't spend any time thinking about girls' names, but as I got closer to my due date, I figured we should at least have one in reserve. Alma Yoki suggested I use Phil's name. I confess I was a bit stunned. Philip Bernard not being a traditional girl's name. No, Yoki reportedly said the name Phil was going to have to have if he had been a girl was Salisa Joy. Cringing slightly, Phil said they finally opted to buy a baby name book, but it was so thick I started to yawn before we'd even gotten halfway through the A's. When we got to Avery, Shannon and I looked at each other and asked, "Is this a name you could yell outside at the top of your lungs to call your child?" And we agreed it was, and that's how she got her name.
You know who that
Karen was the first one out of the tent Sunday morning. I was awakened at 4 a.m. by Kathy and Joy giggling hysterically, and I couldn't fall back asleep. And as it was, I was sure I was awake all night anyway. Kathy says, the truth is, Karen snored. We called to Suzanne to try to get her to turn over. Suzanne says, first she gently tapped Karen's foot, then she gave her a gentle push, then a harder shove, and finally resorted to pulling her sleeping bag out from under her. A collective sigh of relief went up in the tent when Karen shifted to her side. Dang, Joy said, she even snores on her side. I do not snore, Karen huffed. I just breathe heavily. The snorts of disbelief are still echoing in the picnic area.
This is what happens when the rest of you go home. While the guys waited for the ready light to go on the second pot of coffee, a group of ladies did battle on the sequence board fortified with 26 ounces of Fireball, described as liquid cinnamon hearts sipped out of styrofoam cups. Gail was intrigued by the concoction and wanted to know whether you had to buy it at the liquor store. No, Kathy replied with a straight face. I was still in the backyard. Kathy! Robin exclaimed, you told me that was a broken fridge your mom threw out. Kathy just smiled.
And that's the news. Oh, one more. My pen is ever at the ready. I've seen the light. One of the comments about the relatives who overnighted in tents was of the general lack of preparedness. 30 people needing to go to the bathroom in the dark and not a flashlight in the bunch. This reminded Jim Lynch of his favorite experience with a flashlight. Chris and I were dating, and she had a strict curfew. We'd arrive home to Mackenzie Avenue and park in the driveway, usually behind Tom's car, to say our goodbyes. I confess the windows would get a bit steamy. One night, we might have been a few minutes late. All of a sudden, from the upstairs bedroom, a 1,000,000-watt flood came shining through the windshield. Holy shit! I was near blinded. Not only that, I ended up being grounded for 3 weeks by Earl. I married Chris anyways. I didn't dare not to. The first order of business is always to welcome all the family back and our friends. We have Kyle here, we have Alex's friend Joan, we have Lauren. Anyone else who's joining us for the first time, you are most welcome. But we also have some new family members. I will give a more official nod to Gary, who we met last year, but he now is Karen's fiancé, and they are getting married in March. First to join the family last September was Lara, Alex's wife. And as you remember, Alex has a very special connection with the long weekend. He was born on one long weekend, and I remember going out on the golf course with a big sign saying, "It's a boy." And he has been a very special part of these weekends ever since. After Lara, at the end of March, and as a first-time baby, she gets a little present.
Oh, I love it.
Then Jim and Chris welcomed their 4th grandchild in May, born on my birthday, and Jan's birthday. Connor, we'll give him a kiss. And then the newest Hanley is Avery Slater, as we said, who was 1 month old yesterday, and she gets a little present too. We always give a prize for our early birds. And this year our early birds were Shannon and Phil and McKenna. And Avery. That's for you, McKenna. And that's for Mom and Dad. You're welcome. It's an early peasant this year.
Good one.
There is a saying that you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your relatives. The implication is that friends are people you actually want to spend time with, and relatives are people you merely tolerate at special occasions. But the Hanleys never follow anybody else's rules. And I was thinking about this saying in the context of the weekends, reminded by a couple of things said at Dom and Elaine's 50th. Marg wondered again why it was that the seniors, and then by extension all the rest of us, have remained so close. And she thought one of the reasons might be because there was no other family around, they had to rely only on each other for support and company. Then Carolyn said that some of her happiest memories growing up, and these are certainly memories I tap into as well, were of the years that the Dom Hanley cousins and the Caron cousins grew up as next door neighbors. And I thought to myself, maybe one of the reasons the ties between us are so strong are, in addition to a family connection, we have a friendship connection. Our family connection is our heritage and our traditions. It's our values. It's our sense of belonging. And our friendship connection is we like to do things and enjoy good times together. Playing together as kids, going out for dinner, traveling on holidays. Not only do we love one another, we like one another. We have many common interests. And perhaps it's the dual connection that has kept these weekends enduring for so long. I do not think if we came here simply out of a sense of obligation that we would be celebrating our 32nd year together. As always, it is everyone's participation in everything we do that makes these weekends so special. And rather than itemize different things that we've done as I have in the past, I've just asked you to come up and collect a little souvenir as a result of your participation this weekend. So let's have Hannah and Paige and Madeline, Jack and Rebecca, Harmony, Drew, Lauren, Allie, Stella, Kate and Kelly come up. If you guys didn't have so much fun on the weekend, it wouldn't be near as much fun for us either. And among our older group, and these are entirely random, we never want to miss anyone, but it's easier sometimes just to pick out representatives from each family and acknowledge that all of you participate in some way. So we have a little gift for Jane, Auntie Bev, Kathy, Debbie P, Joy, Chris, Laura, and Stephanie Groves. That I have received more feedback on this invitation than any other one that I have done. And I don't think I've ever formally talked to you about the creation of the invitation, certainly not in any detail. Believe it or not, the starting point for this year's theme was the Little Peasant doll that I gave to Shannon. Shannon, hold up the peasant doll. Mom had this in her gift cupboard. and she was going to get rid of it. But I thought it was kind of cute, and I said I would take it and use it when we had a Russia theme. So this year, I decided we would have Russia, but I had no idea, as is typical, as to how we were going to present it. I thought about Russian folk tales, but they're all very long and somewhat depressing. And I thought about Ukrainian Easter eggs, but that would have meant Jan would have had to design original eggs for each of the families, and that would have been really just too much work. And then I remembered the Hermitage, which is a very famous museum, is in Russia, and I thought I would create my own art gallery. My plan was to find pictures that were in the Hermitage and write about them in a way that would tie them to the family. I have quite a lot of art books, and as I was thumbing through one, I came across Monet's Impression Sunrise, and I thought to myself, just popped into my head, oh, I've got my own Impression Sunrise. It's a picture I took very early one morning at Souk. It's the first pair in the invitation. And all of a sudden, inspiration struck. My art gallery would compare original masterpieces with family ones, and I was overwhelmed by the connections that I found. There's no question that this invitation was the most elaborate one we've ever done. And all the credit, as always, goes to Jan. Each of our invitations has been absolutely unique in terms of its layout, its binding, its color, its cover design. The size of the pictures and the text for this invitation meant that we could only fit one set on each 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper. So to get the invitation the size she wanted, Jan had to cut each page 4 times. That's 52 invitations by 30 pages by 4 cuts, or about 6,000 cuts.